Good morning. So, watched the president last night. I hope all of you did too. I have to tell you that I was hoping to get some facts, and he only had been speaking for like 5 seconds, and I had to pause it. And I said to my husband, he's wrong. This is not good. The president is like, did you hear the good news? We only have 15 cases of coronavirus in America, and they're all doing so well that soon it's going to be zero. Well, see, that's not true. And what's even scarier to me is that the two doctors that came up and spoke, the female doctor from CDC and Dr. Fauci from NIH, they knew the president was wrong with his numbers. His numbers were way off. And they did not correct him. Maybe they were told they couldn't correct him, which is scarier still. If it had been me, I would have said, well, Mr. President, with all due respect, it is not just 15 cases. It is 59 cases. And as the president was speaking, it became 60 confirmed cases of coronavirus. Apparently, the president forgot, because he actually rightly so disagreed with it, as I do. He forgot that we brought 42 infected people into America from the cruise ship. We should not have done that. If we had not done that, what he said in his first 5 seconds might be true. We might be looking at zero. But Americans are loud and entitled, and they said, we're on this cruise ship, we're Americans, get us off this ship. Well, see, we should have left them on that ship. We should have sent American doctors and the CDC to the ship, because that's what the CDC gets paid to do. That's what they do. And they could have been treated on the ship, and they should not have been allowed back on American soil until they had proven they were completely healthy. But Donald Trump forgot about those 42 American citizens who were on that cruise ship. And he must have forgotten, too, that yesterday it was announced that in Nassau County, New York, 83 people are being quarantined and watched closely and being tested for the virus because they were exposed to it in China. And scarier still, while the president was speaking, in Northern California, the first case of coronavirus was diagnosed in a person who has never been to China, never been outside the United States, and has not been around anyone who has been exposed to this virus. Basically, this person just showed up with the virus and nobody knows how they got it. And that, my friends, is the scariest part of all. And we need to find out how this person got this virus, because I read a lot. And to me, the fact that somebody who has never been in an area where the virus started, has never been around anyone who has been diagnosed with the virus, just turns up with the virus, that could mean something a little bit more scary and also a little bit more diabolical. To me, and if any of you can tell me I'm wrong, please do so, because it'll make me sleep better tonight, it means that the virus could be airborne. And that means that you don't just get it from shaking hands with someone who has it, or from being coughed on by someone who has it, or from being in a country where it's everywhere. It means you can get it just by walking outside your house, or opening a window, or turning on your air conditioning unit. That, my friends, is serious trouble for all of us, all over the world. Now, I'm not a fan of Rush Limbaugh. I don't watch or listen to Rush Limbaugh, but it was reported that he is apparently, according to the Republican or the Democrats, starting this rumor about a conspiracy theory, that this is not a natural virus, that this was manufactured in China to hurt the president. Now, I don't believe that it was purposely released. I don't believe that. But I don't know how many of you read the book, Stephen King's book, The Stand. Okay. It was a movie too. Really good movie. So if you didn't read the book's really big, but I finished it in a week. And I read it so many years ago, but I still remember the book completely because it was so good. I finished it in 3 days. It's got like 1,000 pages. The first passage in that book is, this is how the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. For almost, well, all of my adult life, and even my childhood, we were preparing for nuclear war, a bomb being dropped, and the world being wiped out, a meteor hitting the earth, bang. But what if that's not how the world ends? What if it is an epidemic, either natural or not so natural, meaning biological warfare? Now, in The Stand, this secret military base in America was experimenting with biological warfare. They created this virus, very lethal, and you would assume they were also working on a vaccine for it so that the good guys, the people that we don't want to get sick, could be protected. Well, they hadn't gotten that far yet, and they had an accident at this base. And they immediately locked the base down to protect the outside world. But one worker in that plant managed to get out, get home, get his family, put him in the car, and run. And that's how the world basically changed forever, because the epidemic spread, the virus spread. Now, of course, The Stand is religious in some senses. It's good against evil, and some people who were immune were bad people, and some were good people. They had to fight it out. And so that's not what we're talking about here. But The Stand, it's interesting, this kind of similarities. So first of all, this started in Russia, or I'm sorry, China. And does China love America like Donald Trump says? Oh, I love President Xi. We have some good relations with China. Well, remember a few months ago when we put the tariffs on China and people were losing their minds? And I don't know, does China love us as much as Donald Trump claims to love China? We don't know. So what if Rush Limbaugh isn't so far off? What if, because I believe all countries, including our own, are right now secretly experimenting with biological warfare. We know that people were experimenting with aerosolizing, meaning you can spray it in the air. You don't have to contact anybody, or you just spray it and the virus is out there. Anthrax, smallpox. People have experimented with that. We've experimented with it, believe it or not. So I think almost every country in the world, as a way to protect themselves from their enemies, are doing some sort of secret experimentation with biological warfare. It's illegal, of course, but when has that ever stopped anybody? What if China, to protect themselves from either their neighbors or the people they perceive as enemies, had this lab and they were manufacturing this virus and there was an accident? I mean, it started in China and it spread rapidly in China, quickly. And what if we had one Chinese worker that got out? When they tried to lock down and contain it, he got out. Because you have to remember, China has not been forthcoming. They won't let our doctors in. They won't let our media in. They won't let the press in. And how long did they wait before the first patient came up with this virus? We don't know who the first patient was. We don't know where they worked. We don't know anything about that person. All we know is that one doctor in China got word to the rest of the world that this virus was serious and it was spreading and it was killing a lot of people in China. And he went to jail for doing that. And then he lost his life to the virus. That's how we found out about this virus. The Chinese did not release it. They did not call President Trump. President Xi didn't call his good buddy Don and say, yo, Don, we got a problem over here. You guys might want to look at it. Maybe we should have the CDC come in so we can contain it. That didn't happen with China. It would have happened if it had been England, where the first case was, or Germany, or France, or Australia, or Canada. We would have gotten that call. Something's going on here. There's this new virus. We gotta, get a handle on this. Please send people. We need help. And we would have done that. But China didn't ask. And the worst part is China also didn't tell. A Chinese citizen risked going to jail to get the word out, to protect the rest of the world. So these conspiracy theories, while probably have not a lot of merit, they're worth thinking about. It's great table talk, since most of us are going to now, at least my husband and I, are going to be not so much out in public, in restaurants and in shopping malls and things like that. We're trying to kind of insulate ourselves Not panic, but just not be out where we're going to be among people we don't know. You know, you don't want to go to a restaurant, and the tables in restaurants are so close now. You don't want to sit next to somebody at a restaurant where you're like this far away and say, "Oh, been to Italy, Brazil, China?" That would be rude. So we're going to stay home. We're going to make nice meals, watch some TV, play some games. We got this great game, Triominoes and Cards Without Humanity. We're going to have friends over. But, you know, we're not going to panic. I am going to, we're stocking up on dog food, making sure we have provisions just in case. But it's not panic time yet, at least where I live. But it could be in a minute. And see, that's not what we got from our president last night. Our president played everything down. And I guess because it's the president, the doctors who actually knew better did not correct him on his mistakes. So, no, everybody, to correct Donald Trump because I don't work for him. It is now 60 confirmed cases of coronavirus in America. 83 are being monitored in Nassau County, New York, and we are probably going to get more. Communities all over our country are having meetings. Employers are telling their employees, if you are sick, stay home. And yesterday I said on comments on my show from yesterday, if you are sick and your boss is trying to tell you you have to come to work or you're not getting paid, shame on that boss. Congress should immediately work together bipartisanly and pass a bill that during this outbreak, anyone who calls in sick to work and says, I am coughing, I have a fever, I don't want to come to work, should get paid. They should not have their salary docked. No one should be forced to go to work sick and expose other people, even if it's just the flu. It's a false alarm. No one should be exposed to this virus because a worker felt they couldn't afford to stay home and self-quarantine. My husband's company did the right thing. They said, anyone who's sick, call in, you say you're working from home. No repercussions. You're fine. Protect everybody by keeping yourself at home. It's important. It's also important that we don't politicize this virus like the Democrats are trying to do. Just because Donald Trump is the president and he's the one asking doesn't mean that it's not important and it's not needed. Stop making this a political statement. You work bipartisanly to protect every American man, woman, and child. And there's another one. Interesting fact. After the press conference last night, I watched the commentary. I watched Fox News and I recorded Rachel Maddow. And I like Rachel Maddow, I gotta tell you. She asked a lot of really smart questions. And one of them she brought up that kind of puts a little bit of a, I don't know, like another brick on the conspiracy, could this be a manufactured virus wall? And I thought of it too, because I said it in my comments yesterday. I told people when children start getting this and dying from it, then everybody's going to step up, just like they did with AIDS. Remember when AIDS first came out and gay men were dying and Reagan didn't give a shit? He wouldn't pass any bills that gave money to the CDC to fight AIDS because it was only gay people instead of normal people. And then women and babies started getting AIDS, and then everybody lost their minds. But it was too late because it was out there. And remember the transmission? They used to tell you you could only get AIDS through sexual contact. Well, then babies were getting it. And people who had blood transfusions during surgery were getting it. And then they realized that the way it was transmitted, well, they didn't get it right the first time. Well, what if they didn't get this transmission right the first time? What if it's not just person-to-person contact? What if it's not just, I went to Italy for my romantic vacation and came back with the coronavirus? What if it's different? What if it is in our air? And that just by walking outside of our house, any of us can get it. That's the worst case scenario. But we need to prepare for it and we need to find out. And as Rachel said, no children, even sickly children with immune issues, no child, even in China, has gotten this virus or died from it. And that's very interesting. And that one doctor did say that could change, but you have to think about it. It's been a while now, and not one child has been infected. Think about that. If you are manufacturing a bioweapon, a virus as a weapon, maybe because you have a heart, you make that virus so that it doesn't infect children. Are we smart enough to do that? I don't know. I'm not. But maybe some scientists are and have developed it. It is interesting, though, and it is something that, again, we have to think about. Who is getting infected and who is dying? Now, right now, and this could give us a little bit of relief, is that mostly the people who are dying are people with underlying health issues or very elderly people. But that could change too. It could also change by where they get the virus. If they get it in South Korea, where they have awesome health care, or in America, where we have great health care, you have a better chance of beating it. Having it, being sick, feeling crappy, and being cured. Go about your life. Wow, I had coronavirus. Something to talk about. Something to tell the grandkids. There could also, and in fact there are people that are immune. There was one woman on the cruise ship that said she was exposed. She has tested negative consistently, and she has been told she is immune. And there are other people too who are immune to this virus. They are exposed to it, but they don't get it. We need those people because they may be the key to the cure or the vaccine. Their blood needs to be taken and tested to see what is in their blood that while they are exposed to the virus, they don't get it. Because that's important. In the stand, there were many people who were immune to this deadly virus. Now, in the stand, it was a biblical thing. God chose who was immune, who would live, and who would, the bad people, the good people, so they could fight, make their stand, and decide, is the devil going to reign on earth, or is God going to reign? And God won. Oh, look, I just gave away the punchline. But anyway, it is a good read. But in this situation, it's very important that we get a handle on this sooner rather than later. Because unlike what our president seems to think with his rose-colored glasses on, we're not going to get to zero in a very long time. Dr. Fauci said it could take over a year before we even have a treatment or a vaccine. What's going to happen in that year? So look, let me know what you think on my conspiracy theory thoughts. Let me know if you've read The Stand, what you think about it. And let me know what you think about a president who purposely misstates the facts that any one of us can verify simply by getting on our phone and Googling it. I don't know why he did that. In my mind, in my eyes, he lost credibility for doing that. And from now on, when he talks about this virus and this serious threat to our country and our way of life, I don't think I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to the CDC, to the doctors and the scientists, not Mike Pence, who allowed HIV and AIDS to spread in Indiana when he was in charge of curtailing it because he used his religious beliefs to discriminate against AIDS patients in Indiana. So I'm going to listen to the doctors. I'm going to go on the CDC website and check the latest updates. And I'm going to not only watch Fox News, I'm going to watch MSNBC. I'm going to watch CNN. I'm going to watch them all. Because it really is like living in two worlds. Because they are so different the way they report the very same story. And I suggest you do the same. So this is part 2 of my coronavirus series. Hopefully there won't be any new bad news next week. I do have a show for next week that's completely different on the Weinstein verdict, which I know my YouTubers will be very interested to hear my take on that, because you always are very interested in what I have to say about rapists and their accusers and the Me Too movement. So that is supposed to be next week's show. But of course, this coronavirus is the most important thing going on right now. And once again, please don't make this political. Viruses are not Democrats or Republicans. And no one should be using this virus or lying about it because they're afraid it could cost them an election, like I believe President Trump might be doing. He's terrified that the economy will fail and he could lose voters. This isn't about voters. This isn't even about the election because the election is in November. In November, we still won't have a vaccine for this virus or a treatment. And people might still be getting very sick. And the numbers could be going up. So right now, we need to worry about today, tomorrow, the weekend, next week, next month. Because 9 months from now or 6 months from now, when November comes around, it's very realistic, the way this virus is going, that some of us won't be here to vote. And if you look at the Iranian health minister, who, as he was talking, he was becoming sick, he had a fever, he's got it. Some of our public officials, our candidates, might not be here to run for office. This virus does not discriminate, except apparently it doesn't infect children, which is a great thing. But it's also a curiosity. And I'm very interested in curiosity, so we'll keep tabs on that as well. So be safe, be not panicky, but be cautious. Know your surroundings, know who you're around, know where they've been. And we're all going to get through this together like we always do. There's nothing we can do about it, except pray that our elected officials come together and that our doctors, our researchers are as smart as their salaries pay them to be. They make good money. It's time that they earn it, and earn it quickly. Political Paula, out.